Have you noticed that the consistent winners in life rarely slam doors or raise their voices? They don't strong-arm people, don't bark orders, don't burn energy in public brawls. They arrange the board and let the pieces glide. They create conditions where others step in the direction they quietly prefer, all while believing they chose the route themselves. To understand how this unseen persuasion operates beneath social dynamics, subscribe to Dark Psychology Decoded to explore the mechanics of subtle influence and control. No scene, no clash, just a silent checkmate. Picture your own life if you stopped trying to convert every skeptic, stopped wrestling for every inch of territory, stopped bleeding yourself dry to make a point. What changes if you learn to draw rather than drive? Real influence lives there. Most of us are trained to equate strength with force, being the loudest in meetings, out-arguing opponents, dominating the room until others fold. Here's the uncomfortable secret. The moment you rely on pressure, you announce you've already lost. The outcome might arrive, but the cost is a hidden debt you will eventually pay with interest. The thinker so many fear yet quietly emulate, Machiavelli, understood what most never see. He essentially argued that what pressure can pry open, finesse can unlock without damage. Before you recoil at the word deception, clarify the terrain. This isn't about lying. It's about recognizing that humans are not logic machines. We are emotional organisms wrapped in stories, powered by pride, status, fear, longing, and the desperate hunger to feel autonomous. We run on narratives. The instant we feel a shove, our inner alarms scream. We stiffen. We push back, not because your idea lacks merit, but because control threatens our dignity. No one likes to feel handled. No one enjoys the sting of appearing naive. So we dig trenches and become adversaries, even against proposals that would help us. Why? Because you turned it into a contest, and in contests of ego, even victory curdles. The winner inherits secret resentment, and the loser waits for a chance to restore self-respect. Carl Jung described the shadow, the disowned part we pretend isn't ours. Here's the twist about force. When you coerce, you expose your shadow. You reveal your anxiety that without control, others won't choose you. You broadcast your attachment to being right. People sense this instability in milliseconds, even if they cannot explain it. Then they maneuver against it. Consider the last time someone tried to push you into compliance. A manager who commanded instead of enrolling. A partner who issued deadlines for love. A friend who pulled guilt like a lever. You may have complied, but a quiet rebellion began writing its timetable. Now invert the lens. Think about moments you pushed others. Did the result outlast the pressure? Or did it breed distance, covert resistance, and lingering fatigue? The pattern is predictable. Direct force summons direct pushback. The psyche obeys a kind of emotional physics. Action meets equal counteraction. Indirect influence, however, passes under the ego's radar and never sets off alarms. The subtle approach bypasses the shield because it doesn't feel like assault. It feels like agency. It feels like discovery. It feels like, I chose this. Machiavelli was not endorsing cruelty. He was mapping human behavior beneath our civilized veneers. He was saying, stop pretending intentions alone move the world. See how people actually operate or prepare to be moved by those who do. And here's the part that stings. You already know this. You've watched people advance, not for perfect performance, but for making those above them feel clever, respected, affirmed. You've watched debates swing, not on stronger logic, but on allowing the other person to arrive at the conclusion with their pride intact. You resist this truth because you were taught that anything hinting at strategy is manipulation, that honesty equals bluntness, that refusing to play the game makes you pure. Then you keep battering a wall, wondering why the doorway never opens. It was unlocked. You were busy ramming. Let's walk into the deeper chamber of power's psychology. The claim that we are creatures of reason with occasional feelings is a comforting myth. Freud charted the underground river of drives and defenses, showing how much of our behavior is piloted by forces we barely register. Status anxiety, the ache to matter, the terror of invisibility. People who can read these currents do not need to threaten you. They neither shout nor shove. They identify your fears and longings, then stand at the crossroads as either the solution or the hazard. That is enough. Even perception itself is a tool. Machiavelli observed that most people judge by appearances because appearances are easy to grasp, while essence is hard to touch. The story others tell themselves about you governs their response more than your authentic self does. Force confirms their worst narrative. You are here to control me. Gentle steering, by contrast, lets them cast you as ally, counselor, trusted guide. Jung called it projection. We lay our inner conflict onto someone else and react to our projection as if it were truth. The person certain that everyone schemes against them is often hiding their own scheming impulse. The one who sneers that others crave power is frequently starving for it themselves. The skilled persuader doesn't fight your projection outright. They fold it into the dance and become the figure your mind expects to see. Protector, partner, answer to a private fear, while guiding your steps toward their intended result. Now the tension rises. Isn't that manipulative? Here the moral fault line appears. There is manipulation that corrodes and influence that creates. Both use the same levers: ego, identity, emotion. Intention distinguishes poison from medicine. The tyrant twists you for their gain. The builder orchestrates alignment for shared flourishing. Even Machiavelli, caricatured as ruthless, understood the distinction. Naivete about power invites ruin. Wisdom about power can protect and build. Think about relationships that collapsed not from irreconcilable truth, but from the ceaseless urge to force change. Pushing a partner into who you want them to be instead of inviting who they might become. Winning arguments while losing closeness. Turning parenthood into a tug-of-war where children never feel even the illusion of choosing, then wondering why they revolt at the first breath of freedom. Here's the unsettling axiom. People will trade comfort, money, even safety for a felt sense of autonomy. They will accept constraints, sometimes heavy ones, if they believe they selected them. We are emotionally driven beings who occasionally consult reason for footnotes. Until you accept this, you'll keep waging wars that never needed to exist. Once you grasp it, you face a darker test. Will you wield this insight with care, or weaponize it for gain? Many imagine themselves ethical because they lacked opportunity to be otherwise. Real character begins when you possess power and still choose restraint. Jung's path of individuation asks you to meet your shadow, not exile it. Admit the capacity to shape narratives, to steer choices, to engineer outcomes. Refuse the lie that you have none of these capacities. The person who denies influence is often the most dangerous, because they influence blindly. They ice you out and call it boundaries. They press emotional buttons and call it honesty. They perform helplessness and call it vulnerability. Meanwhile, the person who says, "I know I can pull strings," can also say, "So I will tie them into bridges." That is the difference awareness makes. Machiavelli's real gift is clarity. He shows you the machine room of human behavior. Whether you throw sand in the gears or keep them oiled is on you. To become whole is to hold your persuasive gifts without shame and choose deliberately when, why, and how you apply them. So how do you shift from exhausting yourself in head-on collisions to achieving more with gentle gravity? The first sacrifice is your addiction to being right. Every interaction is a choreography of egos. People want to feel smart, seen, safe, sovereign. Threaten any of those and their defenses harden. You are no longer proposing. You are attacking their identity. The strategic move is not to expose your essence to everyone and demand they appreciate it. It is to notice what they need to perceive in order to move. That is not falseness. That is situational intelligence. If you want someone to adopt your proposal, resist the urge to present it as yours. Seed questions, offer puzzles, share fragments of a problem so they can arrive at the answer. When the idea returns to you from their mouth, celebrate it. The outcome is the prize. Credit is a vanity that often costs the prize itself. You may flinch, but I deserve recognition. That reflex is why you keep losing leverage. You would rather be the author than the architect. You win the byline and forfeit the building. Maturity values results over applause. Jung wrote that when two personalities meet, both transform if there is a reaction. Yet most enter interactions intent on transforming the other while they remain untouched. That posture is force. That posture is fatigue. Influence begins when you allow the conversation to refine you. When you listen seeking the kernel of truth in what undermines your position, when you reflect their perspective back with sincerity before you suggest a different angle. This is not submission. It is rhythm. It is the pull that feels like relief instead of the push that feels like threat. When people feel understood, their guard lowers. When their guard lowers, space for movement appears. A practical ritual sharpens this craft. Before a consequential conversation, ask yourself what the other person must feel to relax their guard. Respected, competent, safe, appreciated. Decide how to communicate that without betraying your aim. Then consider the worst plausible outcome and prepare your response. so surprise never floods your nervous system. Finally, ask whether your loyalty is to being correct or to achieving the result. If you clutch correctness, you'll win the skirmish and lose the campaign. Machiavelli observed that the wise accomplish early what fools accomplish late. Don't wait for conflict to force adaptation. Mold the context before it hardens into opposition. This is the Aikido of mind, leaning with their momentum, aligning with their inclination, escorting their energy toward a shared destination instead of crashing against it. It looks gentle. It is anything but passive. It is decisive motion disguised as stillness. Consider a workplace scenario. The blunt move. Unveil your plan in a meeting and argue its merits. Expect the antibodies to activate. Pride resists being led in public. The strategic path. Days beforehand. Talk informally with key people. Share observations. Ask for their read. Really listen. Let their wording refine your framing. Credit their insights sincerely. In the meeting, present the plan as a synthesis emerging from those conversations. Now the plan belongs to the room, not just to you. Ownership neutralizes ego friction. You didn't surrender your intent. You changed the conditions so your intent could land. A different example in relationships. Rather than insisting, we need to do it this way, ask, what would make this feel fair to you? Then suggest options that incorporate their language. People rarely rebel against their own words. Let them help compose the script they'll later be happy to perform. Understand there is a season of solitude in this approach. When you stop sparring over every detail, some will misread your calm as weakness and attempt to occupy your space. Let them try. They expose themselves by reaching. You will discover who confuses gentleness with permission and who can perceive quiet strength. Withdraw from chronic pushers. They cannot dance. They only charge. Focus on people who respond to alignment, not aggression. Over time, your environment fills with collaborators rather than combatants, and your influence compounds quietly. A reputation for making others feel capable and respected becomes a soft magnet. You won't need to chase as much. Invitations arrive. That's the paradox. Restraint accelerates results. Strategy ends up feeling like ease, though it is born of discipline. Another layer, language. Words can bruise egos or balm them. Trade directives for invitations. Swap "you should" for "what if." Replace "that's wrong" with "here's something I'm considering. Tell me what I'm missing." Ask questions that let people discover the answer. If we do A, what happens to timeline, cost, and risk? Curiosity is a disarming blade. It cuts without blood. Mirror their phrases to show you've absorbed their view. Validate before you pivot. Use time strategically. Give people a night to sleep on an idea you want them to claim. Ownership often crystallizes in silence. Plant the seed, step back, and let sunlight and time do the convincing. You're not passive, you're patient. Influence that lasts grows like a tree, not like a firework. Manage optics deliberately. Appearances are the surface people can grasp, and most won't dive deeper unless forced. Your demeanor, cadence, and timing matter. If you look frantic, you teach others to doubt. If you look composed, you invite trust. Speak a notch slower than your anxiety demands. Leave space after key lines. Let silence carry the weight of your message. Arrive early. Sit where sightlines are strongest. Align with the person whose support unlocks others. None of this is manipulation in the corrosive sense. It's stagecraft, and every meaningful conversation is a stage. If you refuse to consider how you appear, you forfeit a lever that your adversaries will happily pull. The goal is not theatrical fakery. The goal is congruence between your intention and how it lands in the room. Guard your own ego with the same vigilance you study others. The biggest saboteur of your influence is your need for immediate validation. Develop a bias for outcomes over ornament. Keep private scorecards. Did the change occur? Did the relationship strengthen? Did dignity remain intact on both sides? If the answer is yes, skip the victory lap. Let credit disperse. It will come back to you in compounded trust, which purchases far more than applause ever could. When conflict is unavoidable, choose the battlefield. Intervene early, in private, with specificity and grace. Frame your concern as shared risk, not personal indictment. Offer face-saving exits. If lines must be drawn, draw them without malice and with a path back to cooperation. Your aim is not to win a moment. It is to sustain a system that keeps producing wins. You will meet actors who game these principles for harm. Your defense is both ethical and tactical. Ethical, because clean intentions keep your conscience clear and your attention unfragmented. Tactical, because people trust those who consistently pair competence with care. Build a reputation for fairness that is not to be trifled with. Be generous by default, firm by exception and transparent about expectations. Document agreements, clarify roles, praise in public, redirect in private. When a bad actor tests you, hold ground calmly and cite commitments. Never escalate to spectacle. Escalation feeds their narrative. Quiet firmness is terrifying to manipulators because it gives them no scene to perform in. They either adjust or self-expose. Anchor all of this in self-observation. Track your triggers. Notice when you feel the urge to prove, correct, or conquer. That urge is your shadow requesting the microphone. Pause. Breathe. Ask, what outcome do I actually want? What does their pride need right now? How can I make the next step feel like their step? Influence is a craft of inches. Most of the work is invisible to spectators. The visible part, a yes in a meeting, an agreement at home, a smooth handoff, rests on invisible disciplines practiced daily. Over time, those disciplines change who you are. You will become less reactive, more precise, and paradoxically kinder, because you no longer need to dominate to feel safe. You are secure in your ability to move outcomes without signaling threat. In the end, the choice is stark. You can keep forcing and pay the price in resistance, resentment, and exhaustion, or you can master the art of pull, creating gravity instead of friction. The world won't send you a certificate for this shift. You'll notice it in subtler ways. Fewer arguments, faster alignment, better ideas surfacing from others because you made room. Goals achieved with less drama, allies multiplying. Once you see that people will die for the sensation of agency, your strategy becomes simple, designed for dignity. Build paths that let others feel like authors. Share the pen. Guide the plot. The story will still arrive where you intended, and everyone will believe with relief that they helped write the ending. Here is your compass, distilled. Read the room before you speak. Protect the other person's self-respect as if your result depends on it, because it does. Trade credit for outcomes. Prepare for pushback without inviting it. Choose private influence over public victory. Calibrate your appearance so intention and perception align. Integrate your shadow so your skills are conscious and guided by values. And when you must be firm with warmth. This is not weakness. It is power dressed in wisdom. Win by arranging the field, not by trampling it. Let others step into the future you designed and feel, truthfully, that they walked themselves there. That is how you win without a war, and how you keep what you've won. They respected pressure, not you. They saluted the chill of consequences, not your character. The right kind of people notice something else entirely. A steadier breath, a calmer spine, a quieter confidence that seeks shared advantage instead of hollow triumphs. They feel your attention shift from needing to win toward making things work. That quiet shift draws them in. You're no longer swinging at shadows or trying to impress spectators who will never be satisfied. You're simply effective. Freud framed it as the pull between immediate indulgence and the discipline to face reality. Children chase quick delight and instant proof they're right. Adults, when they truly mature, can delay the sugar rush of validation so bigger rewards can ripen. Many never arrive there. They grow older but not deeper, clinging to petty victories and applause. The real turning point comes when you recognize that potent power rarely makes noise. It doesn't trumpet itself. It sculpts outcomes while others tangle themselves arguing over who looks smartest. Here is a tangible maneuver, the deliberate step back. When someone barrels forward, pushing their agenda and trying to dominate the air, your reflex might be to meet force with force. Resist that impulse. Agree with whatever is fair. Acknowledge their concerns. Let them celebrate a small win. This is not surrender. It is timing. By giving ground strategically, you place them in a calmer posture later when the decision truly matters. Call it the long campaign. Sacrifice a skirmish to secure the map. You let them taste victory now so their guard relaxes when a pivot becomes necessary. That calls for patience, self-command, and the willingness to look lesser for a moment to be decisive when the stakes peak. It is not posturing, it is choreography. You are shaping the tempo of the interaction, ensuring the moment that counts arrives with minimal resistance and maximal receptivity. In a world addicted to instant rebuttal, pacing becomes a weapon that never needs to shout, but none of this holds if you don't care about mutual gain. If you run these moves as tricks to drain value from others, they will eventually feel the misalignment. Humans are astonishingly sensitive to discrepancy between word and vibe. When your mouth says we, while your energy screams me, the body hears the truth and recoils. This is why inner work is not optional. Jung called it individuation. the courageous act of meeting the parts of yourself you'd rather deny. You have to face your craving for approval, your bruised pride, your old injuries. If you influence to plug a hole inside, you're not being strategic. You're acting out an urge, and urges leak through masks. Compulsion reveals itself through overtalking, impatience, and brittle reactions. People feel the strain and step back. The alternative is simple in concept, but rigorous in practice. Become so settled within yourself that your guidance is no longer a grab for reassurance, but a genuine alignment of interests. The paradox at the core of mature influence is this. The moment you stop needing to bend others, guiding them becomes effortless. When you're no longer trying to fill a personal emptiness, you can see clearly and calibrate wisely. You are not manipulating to get something you lack. You are arranging conditions so good outcomes become the easy path for everyone involved. This is what the sharper political thinkers hinted at without always stating outright. You cannot wield soft power masterfully until your self-worth is not rented out to other people's reactions. You cannot pull without strain until your center stops wobbling. Many learn the outer techniques but skip the inner transformation. They memorize frameworks and scripts while their insecurity drives the car. It backfires. People sniff the hunger beneath the polish. The long game collapses because the actor can't hold the role. The fix is dual. Sharpen technique while strengthening character so your presence and your words finally match. When you do both, clean your motives and refine your method, life eases. Challenges remain, but you stop manufacturing extra friction. You enter meetings and folks lean forward, not because you're peacocking, but because your curiosity is real. You win support with fewer words because you align with human nature instead of ridiculing it. You build allies faster because you no longer threaten anyone's self-respect. Once you stop poking egos, you stop waking dragons. What older writers called virtue, effectiveness paired with situational wisdom, looks like this. You know how to cause results without injuring dignity. It's not about being nice or mean. It's about being competent in the reality of human psychology. You choose levers that move things while preserving trust. You recognize the moment to yield, the moment to advance, and the art of making the next step feel like their step, so both progress and respect survive the journey. Jung would call this integration. You recognize your capacity to influence, to steer, to arrange, and you accept it without shame. Then you govern it. You're no longer the naive optimist who imagines good intentions convert resistance. Nor are you the joyless manipulator who treats people as chess pieces. You become something sturdier, a principled strategist. You read the room, choose frames that make cooperation rational, and refuse to assault anyone's need for agency. The people who once exhausted you with constant drama and insatiable demands either adjust to your steadier frequency or drift away on their own. There is no need to chase, fix, or fight. Your posture and patterns quietly announce, "We build here." Those hungry for chaos will find no purchase. Those hungry for progress will find ground. And yes, some will label you calculated. That's fine. The scoreboard freezes their narratives. While they argue optics, you will deliver outcomes. Isolation evolves into chosen solitude, a space that feeds instead of drains. You stop chasing applause because you've learned to endorse yourself. You no longer audition for approval since your worth is settled. You quit debating unwinnable arguments because your measures shifted from vanity to effectiveness. That shift is freedom. Not the childish freedom of impulse, but the adult freedom of precision. You know the game so well you can play without being consumed or step aside without anxiety. You engage firmly without cruelty and withdraw without guilt. That is sovereignty. A spine that carries both kindness and boundaries. A mind quiet enough to discern what truly moves people instead of what flatters the ego. The lesson beneath all pragmatism is clear. Those who master winning without a fight eventually find no need for war. Intentional, skilled, and emotionally literate, they replace brute force with discernment. Strength without wisdom wastes itself. Wisdom without strength collapses under stress. Fuse both and conflict becomes choreography. Understanding human nature is compassion for reality, not cynicism. Integrating your shadow doesn't corrupt. It makes you accountable so you stop harming by accident. The rule isn't deceit but alignment. Work with the grain of the mind. People respect those who protect dignity while delivering results. That respect endures because it's rooted in experience, not fear. Turn principle into practice. Before speaking, ask, what must this person feel? Safe, respected, capable, to think clearly. Shape truth around those needs. Replace declarations with questions. If we take path A, what changes in risk or time? Offer exits so pride survives. Debate ideas, not identities. Credit others to speed execution. Time proposals so audiences awaken feeling ownership. Use and to connect, not but to cancel. Keep promises small and exact, then stack them. Build a reputation for calm under stress, clarity under noise. Over time, people follow your lead because it's the low-friction path that lets them keep pride intact. Expect tests. Some will mistake gentleness for weakness. Stay firm without theatrics. Document commitments, clarify boundaries, and handle breaches privately. A quiet "we agreed to X. Here's what I need now" outweighs public scolding. Distinguish misunderstanding from intent. Reward honesty. Correct with respect. When escalation is required, keep the door open for repair. Aim for durable systems, not dramatic scenes. Watch your appetites too. Notice when you chase credit or correction for sport. Those sugar highs destroy long arcs. Trade them for the slow sweetness of trust compounding over time. Real influence is a vineyard, not a firework. It needs pruning, patience, and protection from your own impulses. Try a small experiment for 1 week where you'd push-pull. Ask 2 more questions than usual. Validate a point you disagree with before replying. Give credit deliberately. Schedule tough talks early when willpower peaks. Write your desired outcome in 1 line before the meeting and focus only on clearing obstacles to it. Afterward, ask, did we move the ball? Did both sides keep dignity? Did I spend less energy? Repeat what works. Retire what drains. Influence thrives when method mirrors human nature. Kindness anchored in clarity. Assertiveness free from control. Everyone influences. The only choice is whether you do it carelessly or consciously. Refuse to learn and others will use these dynamics on you. Learn with ethics and you build with people, not on them. Decide. Keep pushing and paying resistance's toll, or cultivate the quiet gravity that moves with less strain. Those who mistake volume for strength will misread you. Let them. Your outcomes will speak. Keep eyes on results, hands steady on levers that preserve pride, and feet light enough to step back when patience earns a mile. Whisper, I choose strategy, until it becomes reflex. Force has its moments, but wisdom decides when they arrive. Keep watching. The next video will challenge everything you think you know about authenticity and masks. May you find our talks not only educational, but also inspirational and hopefully ultimately transformational. See you next time.